Hello everybody, welcome back to the Ariel Helwani Show. This is really the fighter and the kid. What's up everybody, welcome back to Juan More Round Episode 4. On today's show, we recap PFL main event, Usman Nurmagomedov versus Paul Hughes. We go over the GFL Global Fight League's draft results and why I think they're destined to fail. We also review Naoya Inoue's victory over the founder of TikTok. Since there's no UFC to recap, I give my Matchmaker Monday's dream card event for Abu Dhabi this year. Knucklemania also took place this past weekend, and I give my thoughts on the main event. Don't forget to submit any questions in the comments, and if you want to be featured in the episode, send me your video questions through email or DM on my Instagram. Please refrain from sending any dick pics, as my phone storage is maxed out on those. Also, stay tuned till the end of the episode to find out which guests we have on Friday's show. Now let's get into it. The PFL Championship Series took place this past Saturday in Dubai, and even though I still stand by my hatred for the PFL, they got themselves one in Paul Hughes. Usman Nurmagomedov beat Paul Hughes in a controversial unanimous decision to retain his PFL Tour belt. Personally, I didn't see Hughes winning the fight, but the three nut shots definitely warranted a point deduction, and the fight should have ended in a tie in my opinion. Hughes called for their immediate rematch in Belfast, Ireland, which not only seems fair since they fought in the Middle East, but that's the right move to make to keep their momentum alive. I didn't watch the full card, just the main event, but the main event itself was an instant classic. If you have Max, I implore you to go watch it yourself. Hughes had phenomenal takedown defense against the Dagestani, and the fight overall was very entertaining. It's still the PFL, but good job on this one. The GFL Global Fight League draft took place this past Friday. 6 teams scattered throughout the globe drafted 20 fighters per roster, covering 10 different weight classes. This is a teams-based promotion which has a point system similar to the PFL. They are also doing a 50-50 revenue share with the fighters and providing medical and retirement benefits. The concept itself is different from anything else that is out right now, but here are the reasons why I don't foresee them being around for many years. Starting off, I took the top 40 fighters from the promotion and ran through their records from each of their last 5 MMA fights. And the results are that they have a combined win-loss record of 74 and 126. 10 out of the 40 fighters have at least 3 wins in their last 5. I think I read a stat somewhere that said 70 out of the 120 fighters signed are over the age of 35. They are banking on name recognition, but they are scouting their talent from retirement homes throughout the globe. Although the concept is great for the fighters involved, I don't see how this model will be sustainable. The audience this will attract is mostly for the hardcores. And unless they do some sort of free streaming on YouTube, I don't see how they'll get the viewerships that these legends deserve. In my opinion, the reason why WEC, Strikeforce, and Pride were all successful was because they grew their own talent and didn't rely on UFC stars way past their primes to make them blow up. I'm not naive to the fact that UFC stars did join these promotions, but WEC gave us the smaller weight divisions in the UFC now. Strikeforce provided the UFC with some of the most dominant champions the company has ever seen, and Pride in its heyday was the UFC of the East. The 3 promotions mentioned were all successful, yet they all ended the exact same way, being absorbed by the UFC. The reason why Cage Warriors is successful in my opinion is because they understand their role in the MMA world and they stay in their lane. They don't try to compete with the UFC and instead are a feeder league to them and other promotions who build up their champions, and when the time comes, they sign to wherever they please. I personally am excited to see how it all plays out, but a part of me does feel bad seeing a 40-plus-year-old legend on a 5-fight losing streak get KO'd again. Best of luck to the promotion and fighters involved, and I will definitely be covering it when the time comes. Their first fight card is scheduled to take place in April, and I look forward to seeing how the product plays out. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. BKFC Knucklemania took place this past weekend in Philadelphia. In the main event, the Underground King Eddie Alvarez took on
Who the fuck is that guy?
Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens. It was an action-packed fight card, and in the main event, Eddie's corner threw in the towel after Stevens dropped him 2 times in the 3rd round. Seconds before the end of the round, it looked to me like Eddie called it quits. Dan Mergliata was generous on the count and gave him a few extra seconds, but it wasn't enough to keep going.
Who the fuck is this, baby? Yes. Yeah, let's make a date. Let's set a date. Who's going to stop me man to man? No one's going to stop me. David, make the date. Let's do it. I'm down for the pro, yeah? I'm down for the pro. Let's go. Let's fucking do it. Hey, bleed, baby. Just bleed.
Next fight to make here is Jeremy Stephens versus the African Prince, Mike Platinum Perry. Alright, since there was no UFC card this weekend, I've come up with an Abu Dhabi card for later this year. Of course, some things need to happen in order for this card to make sense, but here we go. In the main event, we have Hamza Chimaev taking on Islam Makhachev for the middleweight belt. This fight is intriguing because both fighters are stars in the Middle East, and Islam has expressed interest in fighting for the middleweight belt. It would also cement his legacy if he somehow became a 2-division champ by going up 2 weight classes. This, of course, is a hypothetical matchup, assuming Hamza gets the crack at the next title belt and wins. In the co-main event, we have Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov for the welterweight belt. In a previously scheduled fight between the two, this match would give Belal about 10 months to have recovered from his injury, and it would be a complimentary co-main event to the card. Our third title fight to the card would be Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili for the bantamweight belt. Obviously, the first match was fireworks, and why not have Khabib in the corner for these two again? Next up on the card, we got Joaquin Buckley versus Ian Gary. These two were originally booked to fight last year, but Ian Gary stepped in for a #1 contender fight against Shavkat last minute. This fight makes sense, although you can put it as a 5-round main event on a fight night anywhere. A 3-rounder would be much more fast-paced and more exciting in my opinion. Alright, to open up the main card here, we go to the featherweight division, and we have Jean Silva versus Calvin Kattar. One of the guys from the Fighting Nerds, who's also the inspiration for the show's logo and theme, Jean Silva is a fun striker to watch. Pair him up with another brawler in Calvin Kattar, and you got yourself a banger of a fight to open up the main card. In our featured prelim fight, we got Shara Bullet versus Paulo Costa. Shara Bullet is a Middle Eastern star and a staple to these Abu Dhabi cards. Pair him up with Paulo Costa, and we got another 15 minutes of action-packed fight. Next up, we got another striking affair. Joel Alvarez versus Bobby Green. Joel Alvarez is a rising star from Spain, and might as well pair him up with the veteran like King Green to see if he's ready for the next level. Next up, we got Derek Lewis versus Shamil Gaziev. Let's throw in some heavyweight action, and someone is bound to get stopped. The bantamweight division, we got Adrian Yanez versus Cody Garbrandt. Both guys are in need of a win here, and someone is getting put to sleep. Let's go. To open up the prelims here, we got Brian Battle versus Kelvin Gastelum. Brian Battle is on a world tour here, fighting in every country he can. Add him to this one to open up the prelims, and we're bound to have a good card. Well, that's my dream card for Abu Dhabi this year. Overall, I think it's pretty well put together. Your 3 main fights are all Middle Eastern stars. Let me know down in the comments which fights you'd like to see that are obviously realistic and doable. Well, there you have it, folks. Friday's episode, the one and only, the notorious Conor McGregor calls in to recap BKFC as well as who he wants to fight next. I give my parlay picks for the UFC card this Saturday in Saudi Arabia, as well as close out the show with another segment of Juan More Round. I appreciate the support, and don't forget to like and subscribe. The sooner I get to 100 subscribers, the sooner I can quit my shitty day job. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys Friday. Hey, bring me my ointment.